She paused and stared at me. I was boiling with anger. It's you, isn't it? You've wanted him all along, haven't you? No use hiding it because I know about your lunch dates at the boulevard. I bet it's not just lunch happening. If I find out it's you, I'm going after you just as hard as him. I couldn't take it anymore. Stop it, Helen. Just stop. I'm sick of your yelling. She looked shocked by how loud I was. You want to know why Michael wants out? Well, how about this? How dare you accuse him of doing wrong when it's you who has? She just looked at me, her face going pale. I walked closer to her. Listen here, Helen. Michael is the kindest, most true man out there. And no matter what you've heard or think, he's never cheated on you with me or anyone else. Helen kept staring, not getting what I said about her cheating. I've never said this before, but the day Michael got hurt, I made sure I was with him to the hospital. He woke up for a sec, I held his hand, and he told me to let you know he loved you so much and was sorry he couldn't grow old with you. That's who he is. I've seen it at parties with all these women around him and you're off doing your business. His eyes are always looking for you, even though a lot of women daydream about him. He doesn't even see them. He could walk in lunch with no clothes and he'd just offer his coat so you don't freeze. He's always had eyes for one lady and that's been you. How can you not see and mess this up? Helen leaned back against the table. I showed her the pics I had in the envelope and put them out next to her. Look at these photos. Thought you could hide this? This is why Michael is leaving you. It's all here, I said as Helen looked shocked like I'd thrown a snake at her. I picked a few photos to show her. These really show your wild side, Helen, don't they? She pushed the photos away and they scattered, making a mess. No, 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 she cried. I got out another envelope. Helen, if those shocked you, these DVDs will too. I've seen them and they're awful. I put the discs on the table. Watch them when you want. And here are lots of emails you sent to your guy, Brian Taylor. Helen fell into a chair, her face pale. Oh, and here's one last thing, I said, pulling out a final item, a card from Brian saying, our times are so special. I wish it was always just us, found in your stuff. She cried, shaking her head over and over, saying, no, no, no. Last thing, more photos of your Brian with other women in a hotel. Seems he doesn't love you as much as you thought, or maybe he likes many at once. But since Michael knows, Brian can't use this against you anymore. She looked up fast when I said that last bit. Yes, Helen, we know all about that mess and how you sent $100,000 to a hidden account for Brian just yesterday. Was that the full deal or just the start? Oh God, no, her head shook as tears fell. Michael has. Michael seen? Yes, you silly woman, he's seen everything. Oh no, 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 Helen cried hard without stop. I felt no pity. Helen, you're the silliest smart woman. I know you let Michael down, and you played games with that sneaky Brian Taylor. I can't understand how you thought Michael was cheating. Where were you these 25 years, you silly woman? He was all in for you, then you pull this. You know what I think, Helen? I think it's all about you, your pride, your needs. You had everything, but it wasn't enough. You wanted to think Michael was cheating to cover up your own wrong steps. I'm not sure if Brian was the first, but I really doubt it, Helen. It's always been about you hurting everyone around. I didn't like you from the day you showed up at the hospital, 2 hours late with that weak excuse about being busy with work. You know what I think? I think you were messing around on Michael even then, or you just didn't care enough. Which one is it, Helen? Are you just a silly, proud woman, or were you cheating way back then? God, no, Terry, you have to believe me, you have to make Michael believe me. I'm silly and proud, but I never cheated on Michael before, or with anyone, until Brian. It was just for kicks. I didn't think it would hurt Michael, it was just a bit of fun. Tears ran down her cheeks. Fun, Christ, Helen. Your fun just wiped out 25 years with a man who gave his life to you. You thought about this before you started messing around? I asked. She stepped back when I spoke those words. Terry, I've messed up, but I truly love Michael. He's the only one I've ever loved from the first day. I knew he was the one for me. Oh, I've been so dumb, very dumb, Helen. I know Michael wasn't around much. I guess I liked the attention. It made me feel young and wanted again. And during that time, you turned Michael away, didn't let him show you how much he wanted you. You dressed up in sexy clothes and stuff for Brian, things you hadn't worn for Michael. How do you think he felt finding that note among the sexy outfits you were wearing for Brian? And that was before he saw the pictures and videos of you with, what did you call it? Brian's magic stick. She started to cry again. Oh no, I've seen the tapes, Helen. What was it about Brian? It's not like he was great or anything, but he sure seemed to please you. But maybe it's the thrill of cheating that got you going more than the act itself. I don't think those were fake. She lowered her head, covering her face with her hands. After a moment, she looked up. Terry, I've wanted to end it weeks ago. And maybe if Michael had been around, I would have. I missed his love and knew I had to find my way back to him. I wanted us to go on that cruise, to be away from all this, just us together. I thought we could find what I thought we lost that day, the day the first picture was taken. I wanted to end it, especially since Michael sounded so odd on the phone. I was worried. Maybe I knew he'd found out. When I couldn't reach him, I got mad and thought Brian was better than being alone. Well, Helen, looks like Brian's out of the picture, but so is Michael now. You're all alone. I almost said she'd find other guys to sleep with easily, but I kept quiet. She started to cry again. Terry, I need to see him, talk to him. I've been so dumb. I love him, only him. I want to get back with him, feel his hug. Where is he, Terry? I must talk to him, make him get it. Helen, I swear if I knew, I'd tell you. I left her there, tears falling, her head down on the table, photos all around. I passed through the sliding wooden door and saw Liz. What's wrong, Terry? Is it something with Dad? Did something happen to Dad? I just shook my head. Your mom needs you now, Liz. Be there for her. I walked to my van, still hearing Helen cry and Liz asking what was wrong. I felt terrible. Michael's plan did its job. My showing up in the pictures broke Helen, but I felt no joy. Michael hadn't shared his plans or where he was going with me, he just said he needed a break. I had hoped to be the one to comfort him, to give him my love, make him happy again. It pained me that he didn't say or take me with him. I loved him so deep it hurt me too. As I drove away, tears came. Happy birthday, Michael. I wish I knew your place. I miss you a lot. Then, I woke up to my phone blaring. Terry, Dad's been shot, the first thing I heard, pulling me from a deep sleep. As I grabbed my phone, I saw it was 3:20 a.m. The caller kept talking. A lady from a company named McGregor Global Shipping called to say Dad got shot. They're taking him and his team to Zurich, but she didn't know how bad he was hurt or how it all went down. Maybe in Somalia. Why would Dad be in Somalia? It's hard not knowing. We thought you could help us find out more. We're so worried, Megan. Megan, give me a sec to wake up and grab something to write on. I knew it was Megan Connors talking, telling me this scary news. I thought of Michael on the cold bank floor in L.A. and felt so scared and sick. Oh no, Michael, what happened? I thought. Megan, yes, okay, slow down, tell me everything, I said. Terry, just now, a woman called. She was from Global Shipping Limited in London. She asked if I was Megan Connor. It felt like a crazy call since it was 3 a.m. I said I was and almost hung up to go back to sleep. Then she said Dad got shot. She had to say it twice before I got it. I thought he was in Brussels or somewhere in Europe. I can't believe he was in Africa, and I can't believe he's been shot, Megan. Take a breath, Megan. Silence now. Let me write this down. A lady from McGregor Global Shipping International said your dad was shot, and they're flying him to Zurich. You're sure she said Zurich? Pretty sure, but I was really upset. Okay, you keep saying we. Is Liz with you, or did you call her? Liz is here. We stayed up late planning the wedding, and she slept over. Oh no, my wedding is in 8 weeks, and Dad's supposed to walk me down the aisle. Should I put off the wedding, Megan? Just hold on, let me figure some things out. I'll call Global, okay? Stay close to the phone. You can tell them I'm working for you. Okay, sure. If I can't get the info from Global, I'll reach out to some pals at the State Department. They might know who to call at the U.S. Embassy in Switzerland. Thanks, Terry. You were the first person we thought of. We know you care about Dad and that you could help find him and how he's doing. Sorry for waking you, especially since it's Saturday. It's okay, Megan. I'll ring you as soon as I find out anything. I've got both your cell and home number. Thanks, Terry. We were just so worried. I get it, but if he's headed to Zurich, that means he's still with us. That's good to know. I heard Megan cry a little. Megan, yes, everything will be fine. Your dad is tough. He's made it through tough times before. As I said that, I thought back to that tough day in L.A., Megan sniffed. Thanks, Terry, for being such a good pal. Oh, Megan, have you spoken to your mom yet? No, should we? She's been hard to deal with since, you know, what happened with Dad and him leaving. She would just scream, "It's all my fault," and fall apart. It's been 4 months, and Liz and I are trying, but it's hard not to be mad at her for what she did to Dad and us. Let's keep this between us for now, just until we know more about Dad's situation. Okay, and Megan, remember, she's your mom, and she loves you and Liz. I know she still loves your father too. She just made a big mistake, and she's dealing with that. Terry, do you think they could ever get back together? I don't know, Megan. I don't know. If your dad didn't still love your mom so much, he wouldn't have been so hurt. Maybe this time apart has helped him start to heal. Maybe. I hung up and sat on my bed, feeling really worried. I had almost lost Michael once, and the thought of him hurt and alone was too much. Why was he even in Somalia and now flying to Zurich with some team? What team? Last time I heard, he was in Brussels. I got a card from him just days ago. Go, where are you, Michael, and what's going on? These past 4 months have been hard. I felt lost without Michael. He'd been a big part of my life for nearly 9 years. I missed him a lot. He used to tell me everything, like when we worked together on the Cheiros business deal. Michael didn't like surprises, but then Helen surprised him big time. We used to meet every week to talk about the Cheiros project. I'd call him a lot, and we also had lunch once a month. Those lunches felt special. We hardly talked about work, it was more about catching up and sharing a bit of gossip. We always ate at Boulevard by the water. I always made sure I looked good for those lunches. My daughter, Cassie, even noticed, "You look so nice today, Mommy." You're meeting Mr. Connors, aren't you? Yes, sweetie, I am. He's very important to my work, so I always try to look my best. Now that she was 8, she saw more. Mom, I think you really like Mr. Connors. I sure do. Every summer, Michael came to our work picnic. He always played games, and often I'd find him with a sleepy Cassie on his lap, sitting under a tree with a book for kids near him. Last Christmas, he took Cassie out to buy gifts, and they even had lunch at a nice place. He never forgot Cassie's or my birthday, even when he was busy with work. One day, he shocked me by coming to Cassie's school play. He even talked to Megan and Liz about us. They told him they liked him more because he loved Cassie. Now that she was 8 and acted older, Megan and Liz started taking her shopping with them. They treated her like a little sister. That made me feel closer to Megan and Liz too. Helen knew about Cassie. Michael never hid it, but to Helen, we were a danger to her marriage. Even though Michael loved her, in the past months, I thought a lot about that meeting at their house and what Helen said. Michael's close bond with Cassie and our work ties didn't make her happy. It seemed her view of her marriage was all about her. I started to see that as things got bad with Helen, Michael got closer to us. Was our bond with Michael a reason or just an excuse for Helen to do what she wanted? Cassie missed him too. Liz and Megan tried to keep her busy. They even wanted her to be a flower girl at Megan's wedding in January. Christmas was soon, and they planned to take her shopping. "Mom, when's Mr. Connor coming back? Will Connor be back soon? It's almost Christmas, and he said we'd go shopping like we do every year. I wish I knew when he'd be here, sweetheart, but remember, in a few days, Liz and Megan will take you shopping. I really like them. It's like having two big sisters. Jenny at school can't stand her big sisters, but I love mine. But it's not the same as with Mr. Connor." I gave her a hug. Cassie was tall and looked older than she was. She was going to be very pretty when she grew up, but she was still my little girl. Whenever I got a postcard, so did Cassie. Michael had traveled on all kinds of ships and sent us a card from every place he visited. I kept them in the drawer by my bed. The only letter I got from him was from Yokohama, about 2 weeks after he left. "My dear Terry, I miss you and Cassie," there I said it. "When you're on a big ship, you have a lot of time. Each day I walk miles around the deck, one way one day and the other way the next. Being in the middle of the ocean makes you think a lot. I'm starting to heal, and thinking of you and Cassie helps. I often think about our dinner in Palm Springs. I'm glad you picked a quiet spot over the country club. You made me laugh, and I realized how much you mean to me. And the long hug at the airport felt like you wrapped me in your love. When I brushed a tear from your cheek, I didn't want to leave, Terry. I want more hugs, more dinners, and no tears unless they're happy. I don't know when, but I will come back, and I want to hold you tight and feel your arms around me. Terry, thanks for being my friend, my secret keeper, and my guiding star back home. Love, Michael." His words made me cry. He didn't say I love you, it was too soon. But when we hugged goodbye at the Palm Springs airport, I felt whole. I knew I could wait forever for him to return. I kept his letter close. I didn't need to read it, I knew it by heart. Work kept me busy, which was good. The case against Brian Taylor took about a month. With help from some pals in the Treasury, the IRS, and the local police, I built a strong case. After long talks with the office boss and then the top bosses at Williamson and Jenkins, they fired Brian. He got caught for stealing money and spent a few days in jail until he could pay the big bail. The firm wanted to just fire him, but with all the stolen money and the threat of many harassment claims, they decided to really go after him. He also faced losing his license to practice law. I kept an eye on him. Last I heard, he was living with a rich lady in Pacific Heights, spending his days writing legal papers and bugging his lawyers. Even if he avoids jail, he won't work in San Francisco again. Helen was a different story. She vanished almost as much as Michael. Liz and Megan said she took a big payoff from Williamson and Jenkins and didn't work. Now, she hardly left her place, just ran or went on bike rides. She told the girls she wanted to look good for when their dad came home. Megan said Helen moved a bed into Michael's study to feel closer to him. They also said she took all the stuff out of the big bedroom and couldn't stand to go in there anymore. For months, they said just stepping into that room made her cry. Why doesn't she just sell the place? I asked. Oh no, Mom believes Dad will come back, forgive her, and they'll keep living in that house. Terry, we get it that there's no way Dad will ever stay in that house again. It's sad because we have a lot of happy times tied to that place, but Mom messing around with that guy in Dad's bed means they need to start fresh somewhere else. What made her do something so mean to Dad? I'm not sure, Liz. Sometimes, after many years, love fades, then one or both people might look for something new. It's more common than you think. But Dad's so, good looking. I had college friends who'd have wanted to be with him. Liz laughed. I know, some of my friends are too keen to see what he'll do next. I wanted to talk about something else. I didn't need to hear about young women wanting Michael. So, she still hasn't agreed to the breakup papers? Nope, she won't. She says she won't until she sees Dad face to face, tells him she's sorry, and how much she loves him, Megan added. I wish Dad would just come so they can sort this out. Oh, and Mom's seeing a therapist. She says it helps her see how selfish she's been. Megan, don't say that, Liz interjected. It's what she admits. That's how I heard about Helen, through Megan and Liz. I don't think she really gets how much she hurt Michael. She still focuses on her own guilt and loss, and she still thinks saying sorry can fix it all. I still didn't know how it was going to end. I had the letter from Michael, but he was still with Helen. Suddenly, I was back, and it was 3:30 Saturday morning. I miss you, Michael. Please stay alive, please. I picked up the phone, dialing Michael. The dream came back, stuck in the Black Hawk helicopter as it dipped down fast towards the ground below. I pulled hard on the co-pilot's door release in panic. The light from the big gun's shot lit up the dark, and I could feel the hits on the body of the chopper like heavy blows. The pilot worked hard to make it steady. Right behind me, the door gunner shot back with his gun as we dropped, trying to hit the gun that was hitting us. I felt the gun's fire heat on my neck. The pilot made us even just as we landed on the soft sand by the beach. A bullet hit my thigh as I managed to open the door and fell out onto the warm tropical sand. I screamed in shock and pain. I woke up with a start. Are you okay, Michael? No, yes, Gina, I'm okay. Dreaming again. Need something to help you sleep? Does it hurt? No, I'm okay, Gina, the leg just aches a bit. I'll try to sleep again. She sat by me on the big bed. Gina was Angelina, a tall, slim, and dark-haired beauty from Ukraine who looked after me. The light from her room door showed her outline. She wore cream silk pajamas that showed her shape. She had come from the next room of the suite when she heard my shout in sleep. Maybe I'll stay here a bit. She sat close on the bed and touched my forehead. I just watched her. She was beautiful, with shoulder-length dark brown hair, bright green eyes, and much younger than me. Her pajamas showed she was cold. You seem cold. She slipped under the covers. For weeks later, I was on my way home from Zurich in a big private jet, thanks to global shipping. I was asleep in the small bed at the back. I woke up to find Gina's warm bare skin against mine. We loved each other slowly. We both knew this might be our last time together. After I held her and watched her sleep, I moved a strand of her dark hair from her face, and she smiled in her sleep at my touch. From the window up high at 35,000 feet, I could see the Great Plains. It was December, and everything was covered in a white sheet. I thought about me and Gina. Gina had surprised me when she first came to my bed in the global suite in Zurich. The next morning, she touched me gently and gave me her big wonderful smile. She said softly, "A good nurse looks after her patient in every way over time." I found out she really liked me, even though we were different ages, and I felt the same. She told me about her dad's dream to move to the United States. They got lucky with the immigration lottery and chose Silicon Valley for their new home because her dad was good at building software. Gina was picked right out of nursing school by Global. She loved to fly and care for people, and Global was a place that looked after its people well. They sent planes to take their hurt workers, or sometimes their families, from anywhere in the world to get better care. They had happy workers and, unlike other places, didn't lose many of them. Her main job was to fly with a doctor to take sick sailors or workers to a good medical place, or if needed, to the big medical center in Zurich. She told me that the people at Global were very nice and never suggested she should be more than a nurse to them or their clients. She did say she got asked out a lot, but mostly she said no. One day, as we ate late in a cozy spot in Zurich, she told me her life was so full she had little time for love. So where do I fit in? I joked, like ships that pass in the night. To my surprise, she held my hand across the table and looked off, caught by the fall view and the pretty Lake Zurich. She made sure we walked every day to help heal my leg. I had what the Army calls a $1 million wound. This means the bullet went right through without hitting anything big, so it heals fast. But let me tell you, getting shot hurts a lot even if they say it's a $1 million wound. The doctors in Zurich knew their stuff with gunshot wounds, and soon I was out of the hospital and staying in a fancy hotel owned by Global under Gina's watch. After thinking hard, Gina turned back to me. Michael, you puzzle me. I've not met a man like you. You've been hurt both outside and in, yet you can be so kind, making me laugh and feel cared for. You're great with kids, and with me, you're so loving. You're a man I could fall for. I've never felt this mixed up over a man, and I'll really miss you when you leave. I'll miss you too, Gina. A lot. We walked hand in hand on the stone streets back to our little hotel, then spent the rest of that fall afternoon loving each other in the big feather bed. Gina was bright, funny, and spoke in a way that made her seem different and exciting. She was like a soothing balm for my soul and body. Her touch brought me back to life time and time again. She helped heal me, and I was so happy to still be alive given what had happened. It's a wonder I was. Helicopters can break easily, especially when hit by gunfire. Someone once said, no plane stands when it faces the enemy. They were right. Gina made a soft sound in her sleep, then snuggled closer to me. The flight was smooth, as if we had our own cozy room in the sky. I thought back to my time dealing with McGregor's pirates. Our plan, that is, 424 fighters, 6 pilots, 12 flight crew, and me, was to take down a group of dangerous, well-armed pirates on an island near Somalia. I gathered my team from former British and American military who were in Europe or the Middle East. Some already worked for Global. The Sergeant Major, a Brit and retired from the Special Air Service, with their motto "Who dares wins," and I picked the best, men and one woman with no criminal past, not heavy on drinking, passed a drug test, and most importantly, skilled in combat or flying. We ended up with a disciplined team ready for a night's operation off the Somali coast. I was the new head of security on a temporary basis for McGregor Global Shipping Limited. Our mission was to eliminate the pirates troubling the ships going from the Seychelles Islands off Somalia to Djibouti at the southern tip of the Red Sea. Their base was within Somalia's waters, and they had the unofficial okay from the local rulers, who were just another group of bullies. Complaints about Somalia were ignored, with some saying it was just a small fishing town. I became the head of security even though I had doubts on a trip from Sri Lanka to Suez. I met the top guy of Global every 3 months. He'd join a ship for a week, he'd just pop up and get on board. He was a friendly Scotsman named Stuart McGregor. At 60, he was good-looking and tough. After he learned about my past in law enforcement and checked with his old friend Stan Chairos, he gave me a job. We were in his cabin, drinking old port and smoking Cuban cigars in the Indian Ocean. "Michael, we're about to enter the world's riskiest waters," he said. "Risky?" I asked. "Pirates, Michael. Pirates backed by a rotten government," he explained, puffing on his cigar. "They're getting braver. They even hit a cruise ship last year. They're going after bigger targets because they have better guns and boats. It's costing me and others in shipping lots of money for extra safety steps. I hate paying to stop things that governments should. If that attack on the cruise had worked, with hundreds dead or worse, I wonder what the world's leaders would have done. Now, it seems any boat smaller than a cruise ship is at risk. Lots of small ships have been taken, with their crews killed or captured. If no one else will act, I have to." I want them gone for good, he said, taking a long drag from his cigar. I want them wiped out like pests. I knew he was getting to a point, so I stayed quiet. Michael, I've gotten to know you on this trip, he continued. He took a sip of his port. Michael, I want you to be my top guard. I thought he'd offer me a job at Global, but his words shocked me. He said his top guard was leaving soon, and he hadn't found anyone good enough yet, despite lots of tries. Michael, before you answer, know this, he said. I've looked into your past. You talk little about your skills, but I found out you're more than you say. You've run a law firm, well, got into big deals beyond your state, and I know about your tough time at home, with your wife cheating on you. What right do you have? I was mad. He dug into my life without me asking. He cut in, listen, Michael, I'm good at reading people. I need you, and you need something to do. You can't just run from your life. You're going to want to get back to work soon. I thought about it. I took a drink and smoked, thinking he might be right. It had been 2 months, and I was already bored, but I didn't want to go back to San Francisco yet. McGregor waited quietly. Okay, I'll take it, but just for a short time, I said. Say, 12 months or until you find someone else, whichever comes first. He shook my hand. Welcome to Global Shipping, Michael. All right, how are we going to deal with those pirates? I asked. Quickly, McGregor got one of his big ships ready with a flat top for our 5 Black Hawk helicopters and 1 Apache gunship. We planned to fly in with 4 helicopters to drop off the fight team, and the Apache would cause chaos from the sky. I'd be in the 5th helicopter, directing everything from up high. As McGregor said, I had to stay out of the ground fight. I was okay with this. We only had 6 pilots, so no extra pilots. It was a risk, but I took it. Each Black Hawk had 2 people to shoot, and the Apache was packed with weapons like 8 Hellfire missiles, 76 rockets, and a big gun. The Apache's job was to attack the pirate ships from the air. Thanks to the Israelis, we had images from satellite lights. We left the ship and went into the dark early morning, our pilots using night vision. Our mission was to hit them at 3 o'clock in the morning, thinking they'd be off guard or still sleepy. But there were more pirates than we thought, and lots of hidden big guns. Turns out they were double the number we expected, but we had the surprise and skill on our side. My team was made of pros, and they showed it that night. We lost some great people, but the pirates lost it all. I drifted off again, looking at the snowy plains below. I didn't plan to fall for Michael. I didn't plan to fall for anyone. My life was good and paid well for someone my age. I had everything, or so I thought. Watching Michael sleep, I felt something new. He was like no one I'd ever met. I felt so sad knowing soon he'd be gone from my life. Once we land in San Francisco, I'd act happy for him, happy he'd be with his girls for Christmas, and maybe his wife who wasn't true to him. I cuddled close to him, breathing him in, feeling his strong body. He was lean but had muscles in all the right spots. I made him work hard in his physical therapy, swimming lots until he could barely leave the pool, and lifting weights to get and keep his muscles strong. I was glad he got better from his leg hurt. I just wished I could help his mind too. He was really upset that 6 from his team died and another 6 got hurt. It's a wonder any he made it, given what they went through. But being with him, I felt like the most special woman. I touched the big green and red stone hanging near my heart. It was my Christmas gift. God, I don't want to love him. In our short time together, I got to know the real Michael Connors. At first, he was just one of 6 hurt in a fight on what we called Pirate Isle. Even on the plane from Djibouti to Zurich, in his pain, he cared more for his team than himself. He refused any pain help until he heard how each one was doing. He already knew about the 6 he lost, that hurt him a lot. After his surgery, Mr. McGregor put him under my care. One day at the hospital, I talked with ex-Army Captain Janice Elders. She was a tall redhead with a West Texas way of talking, and she flew Michael the night they fought the pirates. Her skills let her take control of the hurt Black Hawk just in time to land it safely. It hit hard but didn't tip over. Janice started flying in the Gulf War, piloting a medevac helicopter in Kuwait and Iraq. Bored with her usual tasks, she joined Global and spent lots of time in the Middle East. Again, she flew helicopters a lot, moving stuff and people to oil spots in the sea or fixing ships that couldn't move. I read what Michael wrote about Janice. Even hurt, she pulled him away from the helicopter when it was shot at, and her door shooter was killed. Janice said the other shooter got his gun out and hid with them by a small hill of sand near the water. He helped Michael with his leg and tried to make her feel better, but it wasn't long before the sea robbers attacked them. Her last shooter fought hard with his gun, but the sea robbers kept coming because of their ways. He and Michael kept them away until he was hurt too. Then Janice saw Michael stop their attackers. He didn't just shoot wildly, he took them down one by one with careful shots. The attackers were just shadows against the big fires on the island. Janice thought she never wanted to make Michael mad. Gina, he was so calm as they came at us. The way he looked when he fought made me scared. I knew the sea robbers wouldn't win as long as Michael was up, she said. In the end, they left to deal with a bigger threat from the sergeant major and his soldiers. The sea robbers couldn't fight back well, and Michael's chosen soldiers didn't come to take any of them. When the Blackhawks came back at first light, a pilot said he'd never seen such ruin. 12 big boats and some small ones were burning. All buildings were destroyed or broken, and only a few dogs were alive. The team counted more than 200 gone, including some women. For a bit, the water paths near Somalia would feel safe. Michael kept quiet about it, but it chased him in his sleep. The bad dreams came a lot. He asked me every day how folks were. Once he was up and moving, he'd visit those still in the care place. Captain Elders most of all, she was laid up with hurt backbones and had other hurts from a rocket blast. He made them laugh, then he'd check in with their doctors. He wanted the best for his crew, and he made sure they got it. I saw how soft Michael could be when he was with Janet. He often held her hand when they talked. She was clearly hurting a lot, but tried not to show it when Michael was there. Sometimes he'd just chat, other times he'd read aloud from the paper. He never stayed less than an hour. Once when I came to fetch him for his own fixing up, I saw him kiss her forehead while she slept. Michael didn't see himself as a hero and brushed off the cheers McGregor gave him. He dove into the daily safety tasks of global shipping. He healed well, and we liked the fall air as things turned cold in Zurich. He always had time for me. I loved his way of joking about himself and how he solved big safety puzzles. I didn't plan to fall for him, but after one night under the covers with him, I was hooked. Now, I was in his arms, watching the clock tick down our time together. I hugged him tight and shut my eyes. It was a chilly day in the Bay Area. The weak sun of late December gave little warmth. Megan, Liz, Cassie, and I found comfort in the warm, cozy VIP room at the top of the hangar where the global company planes stayed. Every little while, a server in a white coat came to update us on Mr. Connor's plane. He served coffee in a shiny pot and made sure Cassie got her hot chocolate with marshmallows. Cassie liked being treated like a big girl and really liked the tall, fancy Christmas tree. The talk between us grown-ups went from excited chatter about Christmas and wedding plans for January to quiet thoughts about what it would be like with Michael back. We didn't talk about Helen. We knew she wanted to see him before talking divorce or settling things, and we knew Michael was talking to his lawyer about it. After Michael left the hospital, he started sending emails. They weren't as full of love as his letter from Yokohama, but they still made me feel close to him. I had to stop myself from sharing all my feelings and how much I missed him. I wasn't sure how things would be when he got back, but it made me happy that he wanted me and Cassie there to meet him. The plane, painted bright white with a wave-like blue line, came close to the gate. It was smaller than I thought, just steps away, with Global Shipping and their logo on its tail. We all watched from the big windows on the third floor. They rolled stairs up to the plane, and the door opened to show a smart-looking young lady. She looked back, then Michael came out. Oh, he looked so good, dressed in a dark green coat that looked like a soldier's, a white shirt, and dark pants. He looked happy and fit from far away. She took a small bag from him and slung it over her arm. Michael held onto the rail with one hand, and the young lady held his other. She said something to him, and he gave her a smile. "Mom, there's Mr. Connor. Do you think he remembers we need to shop for Christmas?" Cassie was bubbling with excitement. We all shared a smile. "Cassie, let's give Mr. Connor some time to rest before you talk to him about shopping, okay?" She thought about it, then nodded. "I'll wait till tomorrow." I gave her a hug. We watched as they came closer. Michael had a black stick to help him walk, but he didn't seem to mind his hurt leg much. The lady with him caught our eye. She was stunning, like she walked right out of a glossy magazine. Her dark hair matched her light skin, hinting at an Asian heritage. She dazzled in a leather jacket, like from an old war movie, with a white sweater and a dark green skirt that fell to her knee. Black boots with tall heels topped off her model-ready outfit. "Mom, isn't that lady pretty?" I nodded. "But not as pretty as you." That made me smile. "If you ladies will follow me, we can wait in the lounge near the lift. Mr. Connors will join us soon. He just has to clear customs and immigration. It's quick, and he'll be here in no time," the attendant informed us. "Come on, Megan, Liz, Mom, let's go see Mr. Connor," she said, tugging Megan and Liz by the hands. They smiled at me, but I hesitated, curious to see more of Michael and the intriguing woman. They walked close, almost touching, which made me think they knew each other well. She had some kind of wings on her jacket, part of the flight crew, I wondered. Cassie, Megan, and Liz had already turned the corner, leaving me to watch as Michael and the plane lady got to the building. They stopped under the cover above the door. I was looking down at them from an angle, so I could see them really well. The lady with Michael looked very young and even more pretty up close. I watched her put her bag down and say something to him. He just nodded. Then she did something I didn't expect. She stepped into his open coat, wrapping her arms around him inside it. She laid her head on his shoulder and just stayed there. He hugged her back and said something to her. She looked up, nodded, and then they broke apart. She gave him a quick kiss. It was fast, but you could tell they had kissed before. She looked at him a bit longer, then walked away. Michael and I watched her go all the way to the plane and into it. We saw her wipe tears from her eyes as she walked. "What did you do, Michael?" I thought to myself. I was a mess of feelings ever since that letter from Yokohama. I had dreamed of Michael coming home. I had pictured myself running to the plane and jumping into his arms. But now, seeing him with that lady, my dream didn't seem real. I wanted to be in his arms like she had been, more than ever. Did he still feel the same about me? Who was that woman? I had tried to look nice for his return, wearing a red sweater and a dark wool skirt with heels. I hit the gym 5 days a week, and at 36, I felt strong. But next to the young woman from the plane, I doubted myself. Walking to the lift, my head was full of doubts. As I turned the corner, the lift doors opened. Out stepped Michael right into a hugfest with his girls and mine. Megan and Liz were in tears, and Cassie looked confused. He hadn't picked her up yet. She hugged his waist tight, squashing the flowers she made us buy for him. Michael knelt down hard and hugged Cassie back. I couldn't see his face, but Cassie's smile said it all. She, like me, loved Michael loads. My heart raced watching them. How would he say hi to me? Standing up with Cassie by the hand, the others just stood there drying their eyes. He bent down. "Cassie, you look more beautiful than before." Cassie's smile grew as she handed him the flowers. "Thanks, Cassie. Now let go so I can hug your mom, okay?" "Okay," she grinned. He turned my way, and my heart melted seeing him smile. "How are you, Terry?" I was stuck speechless and starting to cry. Before I knew it, he hugged me like that woman on the plane. I hugged him back, smelling her scent on him but not minding. His warmth, his strength, were all that mattered. He was here, she was gone. Michael gently pulled back. Terry, you okay? I am now, I managed to say, barely. I hid my face in his shoulder, letting all my held-back tears out. I felt silly but so relieved and happy. I couldn't stop crying for a while. Soon, Megan, Liz, and I went to the big lady's room to fix our makeup and make sure we looked nice. We took a bit longer because we all started to cry again. The girls hugged me and said it was clear I loved their dad a lot. They hoped that no matter what happened between their parents, Cassie and I would still be in their lives. Before going to meet Helen, Terry found myself touching the thick gold bracelet that Michael gave me for Christmas. I was slowly moving in the traffic before the toll place before the Oakland Bay Bridge. I hadn't taken the bracelet off since Christmas Eve. Touching it made me feel closer to Michael and helped me not to worry so much about where we were going and about driving him to meet Helen today. I was really scared that Michael would meet with Helen and they might decide to get back together despite all the hurt. The 2 weeks before Christmas were amazing. Michael was safe at home, and we were either seeing each other or talking every day. Michael and I went out for dinner the day after he got back. Now it was the first week of January, and all the holiday stuff was gone. It felt like the real world came back, just like the fog that was around the Bay Bridge today. The bracelet was more than pretty, it was a masterpiece made by an Italian artist. On each end, there was a lioness's head, one had green eyes, the other had red. And you couldn't see the part that fastens them because it was hidden where the two heads met. It wasn't a ring for getting engaged, but I thought it was a great way to show our love. Michael said he got it in Zurich. When he talked about Zurich, I couldn't help but think if the pretty young woman from the plane was with him when he bought it. I shoved those thoughts aside and let my mind drift back to that amazing night we first came together. It was the night before Christmas. He had his family over at his big, fancy house on Nob Hill, a gift from McGregor Global. It was a grand old place that had made it through the big '06 quake. It was filled with dark wood model ships and big comfy chairs, making it feel like something from a long time ago. He asked me and Cassie to help his hosts for the night. I managed to get a last-minute slot at my go-to salon. After Cassie and I, in our fancy clothes, caught a ride to Michael's place, we spent the afternoon working with the staff to get everything ready. The cook had the kitchen under control, so after sorting a few things out, Cassie and I helped Michael wrap presents. It was a nice, calm way to spend the day, and Michael was super nice to both of us. We soaked up his kindness. We each picked one of the big extra bedrooms. Cassie took a nap while I got dressed. I put on a dark green silk dress that went all the way to the floor and showed off my shoulders. I wore stockings with a garter belt and really high heels, with nothing else underneath. The night was very fancy. The house was all done up for Christmas, and the living room had a big tree decorated like it might have been back when the house was first built. The smell of roasted turkey and sweet treats welcomed the guests as the butler in white showed them around. Cassie's eyes sparkled as she took in all the holiday magic and looked at the big stack of presents, their shiny wrapping catching the light from the huge stone fireplace. She was in a long velvet dress, while Liz and Megan were in short silk ones. They were both tall, thin, and as pretty as their mom. Megan had brought along her fiancé, Matt. He was a captain and wore his Marine Corps dress blues. They were planning a quick wedding in January because Matt was being sent to Asia soon. They both looked so happy. Michael was looking sharp in a classic black suit. The dinner, served by 2 waiters, was great, and Michael was a top-notch host. By 9 o'clock, we were done eating. Michael sent all the staff off with baskets full of Christmas snacks and good tips. He told them he didn't want to see them for the next couple of days. We sat in the living room on big, soft couches, holding our brandies, smiling as Cassie played Santa and gave out gifts. She got a big smile when she opened her iPod. I didn't want to get her one, but it looked like she had asked the right Santa. She was over the moon. I had a hard time figuring out what to get Michael. Michael looked confused when Cassie gave him a big red gift. He smiled when he saw the old ship's clock inside, tucked in its wooden box. I also got him lessons for sailing. Terry, I'm lost for words, Michael said. I've known for a while you've wanted to sail, and now you're big at McGregor Global Shipping. This seemed just right. Everyone nodded. Yes, Dad, you really should take some time to learn to sail, added Liz. I've always dreamed of being on a big sailboat, maybe a 50 or 60-footer, she laughed. Let's not jump too far, Michael tried to say in a serious tone, as his daughters and Cassie talked about all the places they wanted to go and, for Liz and Megan, the tiny swimsuits they'd wear. I'm not ready to live on a boat in the South Pacific. Matt, back me up here. Sorry, sir. As a Marine officer, I've learned when to step back from a tough spot. By midnight, it was just Michael, Cassie, and me. Cassie had dozed off on Michael's lap while he read the Polar Express. Her new iPod was still in her grip, the white wires lying across her lap. We put her to bed in a guest room, and then it was just us, sipping brandy by the fading fire, kissing and more. It felt right after getting close the last 2 weeks and feeling the Christmas Eve spell. Michael was great in bed, and I was so excited as he took me to his room. Our first time was wild with passion. I'd never felt so on fire and happy. Michael was bigger than I was used to, and for a moment I thought about Brian, who was pretty average. Why would Helen leave Michael for such a man? Michael and I clicked. We were lovers now, and I loved him deeply. But did he love me? We hadn't said those words, but I hoped he could feel my love. Thinking too much, stuck in traffic on the bridge in the January fog, I remembered the Christmas party's unseen guest. Not Helen, but her missing. Cassie, Matt, and I might not have felt it much, but for Michael, Liz, and Megan. It was hard, they'd never had a Christmas Eve without their mom. She might not be nice or loyal, but she was their mom. I knew Matt and the girl would be with Helen on Christmas Day, and they cared about me, but what next? I tried not to see it when Michael seemed lost in thought. He was probably remembering 25 years of Christmases with his wife and daughters. Meeting with Helen, Michael's thoughts, life can really suck, then bam, it's over, or so they say. I couldn't keep still, walking back and forth in my living room, peeking through the window now and then to see if Terry was on her way. She wasn't due for another half an hour, but sitting was not an option. My world, once so neat and tidy, had turned into a whirlwind these past 6 months, and now here I was, a mess, worried sick about what today might bring. Facing Helen should not have been this hard. I was up by 4, rolling around trying to catch some more sleep till I gave up around 5:30. The dark and foggy morning matched my mood as I hit the road for a run. Usually, a good run helps me think, clears my head. Not today. Today, my brain refused to play nice. I love Helen, that's for sure, but she hurt me, ran off with that jerk. She's still the mom to our girls. They're grown up now though, don't really need us sticking together. What about our 25 years together? But no, she hurt me. Can I let it go? Maybe. Can I forget? No way. Trust her again, hard to imagine. And why did she have to look so stunning that day before Christmas? Because she's always been beautiful, the woman you've loved for a quarter of a century, and she looked at me like she still had all those feelings. I jogged along the Embarcadero, lost in thoughts about that unexpected meet 2 days before Christmas. Susan, my right hand, and a few others from my old law firm had put together a small lunch for me since I was now chief of security at McGregor Global. My role at the firm had shifted to of counsel, though I wasn't working day to day, my name was still up there, and I kept a share of the profits. That day, as I made my way down Market Street to One Market Restaurant, a woman, heavy with fancy shopping bags, came out of Diva International Salon and bumped into me. I said sorry and bent down to pick up the shiny gifts that fell to the ground, and couldn't believe it was Helen. We both froze, too shocked to speak for a bit. She spoke up first, no shock there, she was always the speaker, as the litigator. How are you, Michael? Looking at her, she was as stunning as the day we got married. Her auburn hair was now short but looked great. She wore a cream sweater, a long dark green skirt, and really tall boots. Her jacket was over her arm. Helen, too. I'm good, I stuttered, picking up the packages. My heart was racing. She looked so chill, not like the busy vibe she used to have. I heard you got hurt. Are you okay? She looked really worried. I thought about acting tough, but she was my wife for 25 years and could see through me. Helen, saying her name felt strange. I'm actually okay now. You might have heard from the girls, got shot in the leg. But I'm healed. I'm even running again. She stepped closer, a move full of warmth. Her scent was new, not like the one during our married days. Michael, I'm truly glad. I didn't want any harm to come to you. I was worried. Her face was just as lovely as ever, her love shining like it did when we first married. My heart raced, but inside, there was still a void. Thanks, Helen. I'm sorry, I've got to go. Susan and Jake Farber and some others from work are throwing a goodbye lunch for me at one Embarcadero. You're leaving again? Her voice showed surprise. No, not leaving, just taking a step back at work, to of counsel, with my new job as interim chief of security for global shipping. I just can't do both. I tried to reassure her with a smile. She looked relieved. Goodbye, Helen. Odd, those were the last words I said to her months back. Her sad eyes showed she remembered, too. I walked away. Michael, I turned back. Merry Christmas, she said softly, emotion in her voice. Merry Christmas, Helen. As I walked, I felt uneasy. Saying Merry Christmas felt heavy. A run helped clear my head, but my thoughts were still a mess. Memories of Helen stirred feelings I'd rather not face. Pacing around, I glanced at my watch. Mrs. Wheeler tried to get me to eat, but I wasn't in the mood. I barely touched my egg and toast, and the coffee jolted my empty stomach. Why did I ask Terry to drive to Palo Alto? Because I wanted her with me, yes, because I love her. That was easy to answer. Yes, I do love her. I think I've known that for months. I sent her that letter from Yokohama too soon. Maybe she never said she loved me. Why would she? Can't blame her for holding back. I was still with Helen, and maybe Terry saw right through me, knew that it would be tough for me to leave 25 years behind with Helen. But Terry and Cassie, their love made me feel whole. That Christmas Eve with Terry healed my soul. Terry loved just one man, just like I loved only one woman. Terry's beauty was its own kind. She wasn't trying to be the most beautiful in the room or to catch every man's eye. She was beautiful for me. God, why am I so unsure? And what about Gina? After leaving her, I got 2 cards from Zurich. The first thanked me for the Christmas necklace. I pictured Gina wearing just that necklace. The next card said she missed me, wished we were together again, and asked when I'd be back in Europe. I cared for Gina, but deep down, I knew our age gap and her love for her job meant we wouldn't last long. My thoughts were cut short. Miss Blandon is here. I grabbed my soft leather jacket, checking for the photo inside, and went down to meet Terry. I also took the small box off the desk.